Foundation, and they've got the project called Rebuild Nigeria 360, and that's why we've ensured that we brought him right here in the live studios so that he can help us look at this very interesting talking point. Model Jeffrey, nice to have you in the studio.
Well, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure being here. Good evening out there.
All right, we began our discourse as regards, first of all, the first shocking thing I had was Model Jeffrey, and I thought Model was your name until, all right, let's go for a very quick break, and when we return from this break, the program, The Desk, continues. Please stay with me. All right, welcome back. You're still watching The Desk on Global Television, and I'm so excited to have and to introduce my guest, Model Jeffrey Olu-Abidoye, who is my guest on today's edition. Before we went for that quick break, I was trying to get the fact why we've got Model in front of your name. You said you presented something like a Mr., like we have the Mr., we have like the Prince, the Honorable, now it's Model. Why that Model? Why adopt such a prefix?
Well, thank you so much. I will respond to that by saying, in the words of Chinua Achebe, it says, and I quote, "Since the hunters of our time have learned to shoot without missing, contemporary bird must learn to fly without perching."
True.
It is only in Nigeria you have people who desire to be called His Excellency, who some of them lack the spirit of excellence when you look at what they do in conduct, in content. It is only here you have people who derive pleasure from being called distinguished senators, in quote. But when you compare what they are doing, how they relate back to their constituents, it's far from being distinguished. It is only here you have men who like to be called honorable members, who, in quote, even cannot even, personify what honor means and so many other things and all that.
Can we put religious, like those who also carry the tag like pastor?
Yes. It's a whole lot of issue, all right? In this part of the climb, we like title somehow, but somehow as...
we don't live up to the title.
We don't live up to the title. Imagine somebody who says a pastor and then you are found wanting. I'm not a pastor, but the Bible says, let those who name the name of the Christ depart from iniquity. A pastor who is raping, a pastor who is misbehaving, a pastor who is preaching and then not practicing what he's preaching. You get what I'm saying? So when you look at sectorally the leadership system in Nigeria today, there are a lot of question of integrity. And by virtue of that, because if you say you are a leader, it's John Maxwell that says, whoever thinks is leading without taking a break to look at where it's coming from, it's only taking a walk. If you say you are a leader, you are expected to, live a life of dignity, decency, decorum, and discipline. You are supposed to be guided by integrity of conduct, in all that you do and so many others, so that those who are watching you could begin to derive, some level of mentorship, from you and all that. And so, because the younger generation today have lost faith seriously in the system.
Does the abuse of power fall into this line?
Of course. Seriously, it falls into that. And so, that's why I personally, by virtue of the project, which I'm going to discuss, the Rebuild Nigeria 360 degree, I adopted model. We are modeling responsive and responsible leadership. We are modeling accountable, leadership. We are modeling, ethical leadership. We are modeling transparency of conduct. We are modeling whatever we say we are is truly who we are, whether in the dark or in the daylight.
All right, well said. That's the best way to kickstart the program, The Desk. And I did promise it was going to be very exciting. All right, let's move on. Let's begin our discuss from what played out in India, where a roof terminal building at the New Delhi International Airport partially collapsed, which led to one death and several people injured at the forecourt of the departure lounge. Let's look at the fact that this was one of the projects that Narendra Modi did celebrate in March as one of the milestone achievements of his administration. And barely how many months, now we see it being collapsed. What does this tell us as regards emerging economies, or do we say third world countries?
Well, clearly speaking, India is one of the fastest growing economy in the world today. India is one country where you can mirror what we call integrity of conduct in its ramification. An average Indian man is disciplined in whatever they do. They're smart, they are creative, they are innovative, and they are upwardly mobile. In spite of the fact that you look at them, that they have the second largest population in the world after China. But when you look at what they are doing, how they are moving, for instance, most of the first multinational, higher grade multinational in the world today, either Google, and the rest of them, they are, Indian that are manning them. If you look at the ICT world today, Indians, are ahead of many countries. If you look at industrialization today, they're doing quite a lot, and so many other things and all that. So the issue of the collapse, I believe that could be a technical defect somehow, and due to poor supervision. We may not be right to be blaming the president per se, because
it's one of the projects he
What I mean, we sometimes we are quick to judge. It's easier to say than done. The president is not, the consultant. The president is not a member of the company that were awarded that, contract. I believe that that contract underwent, due process, all right, based on the antecedent, the track record of the company that was awarded, with that contract. Okay, they have profile, they have, track record and so many other things and all that. So, but I believe that maybe at one point or the other, the project was poorly supervised. And that was why, that technical defect somehow. But of course, you cannot build something or nothing. You get what I'm saying? So, we might not be right, like I said, to be blaming the president. That's why the fact that it took many years before they finished that project. It is expected that for that project to be commissioned at that level, it's been gone through all the rigors of normal tests to ascertain that all is well and all that. So having, done that, and 2 months down the road, there's such a defect. Is beyond expression. That's a question of integrity that will have a setback effect on, the profile of the company that actually, and the entire team, particularly the consultant that are supposed to measure to ensure that all, went well.
But for the party, the Bharatiya Janata Party, the BJP party of Modi, that actually did lose in the parliamentary elections recently, does that do them any good? Because the opposition parties will look at this and say, this is one of the reasons why we are trying to move away from Modi.
No. If I like opposition, but I like opposition that is issue based, rather than sentiments or prejudice, rather than emotion. All right, you don't just say because you are in the opposition, what is good in the ruling power, you don't see it. It is only the defect or the inadequacies you amplify. No, you see, as a consultant in leadership, I'm talking about myself right now. The ultimate measure of a leader per se is not to look at his weakest point to write him off. Neither do you consider him mostly from his strength, perspective alone. You add his strength plus his weaknesses, and then you find an average. And so, looking at that, the previous record of Modi, and the party in India, when you look what we call global index to actually measure, the question now is India as a people and as a nation, are they making progress vertically, horizontally? The answer is yes. All right, in key sectors of economy, India today is a country to watch. And so that is as a result of discipline of leadership. You understand what I'm saying? Like sometimes we say, I came on in Koryomaji. There's no way what that means in Yoruba, what that means in essence is, no matter how smart, no matter how intelligent, no matter how good you are, you cannot walk without your head shaking somehow. You get what I'm saying? So that is allowed in leadership because we are human. It's only God that is perfect.
True.
You get what I'm saying? So if that's, for me, it is minor, but because the opposition are waiting, and that's one thing that is common, in certain climb when you talk about opposition and so many other things. We should move away from a prejudice, perspective, an emotional perspective, a non-constructive, way of measuring, because it's easier said than done, like I said. And so once you are there, of course, you are in the spotlight. You get what I'm saying? So it's about the country, it's not about Modi, because Modi will leave. Somebody was there yesterday. So if he leaves and those in opposition comes in there tomorrow, and that's why we are not making the desired progress that we ought to make. Once election has come and gone, whether the opposition or the leading party in the saddle, all need to put away sentiment of party prejudice and so many other things. Let's begin to look at the country right now and say, okay, let's wait for the next 3 years before you start, running the other those in power down. Of course, if they are not doing things right, you owe the people you are, you're representing as an opposition and the entire citizen to be able to say things. But what I'm saying in essence is we should be constructive, we should be objective, we should be fair, placing yourself at the other side, because it's a two-sided coin and all that. So right. It is only when we are constructive that the country can make progress. You get what I'm saying?
All right, well said. Let's move to the next talking point, where the federal government on Thursday in Abuja inaugurated the Ministerial Task Force on Illegal Private Charter Operations and Related Matters in the Aviation Industry. The Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, said the task force would be engaged in taking inventory of all private non-commercial flight holders and air operator certificate holders. According to him, the committee will, among other things, help determine why the practice of illegal charters by the PNCF holders persist in the country in spite of regulatory controls. Do you think you have an answer to that?
Well, I strongly believe that we might not be where we think we ought to be as a people and as a nation, but we are no more where we used to be. And then every system anywhere in the world is evolving. You move from one level to another level. And it is Colin Powell of blessed memory, one of the finest Black American, who says that government have an eye that never sleep. All right? The government is supposed to be at work 24/7, particularly these very sensitive, strategic government agencies that are supposed to be at work, all right, to know that, okay, when things are not going right, it is their duty to raise it. The fact that, okay, abnormality in our own time seems to have become normal now doesn't mean we must continue to do what is not right. You know what I'm saying? In Nigeria, we have some of the highest number of, private jet owners in an economy that is struggling, in an economy where an average person cannot, afford a meal per day. So, and then by just general assessment, a single private jet now in dollars, we know how much that means. You get what I'm saying? But I believe that there is hierarchy somehow, but then we are a country and a people. We are the few who are privileged to lead us somehow. We are a few who are privileged to have milk by way of privileges at one point or the other, are using, the common word that they have been able to siphon to their own advantage now to rub on the face of the people and so many other things.
Do you think this task force would succeed in the task before it, the mandate of trying to checkmate this illegal flight charter, despite the regulatory bodies there, like Festus Keyamo has noted? Knowing fully, like you rightly pointed out, these are elites, these are people, the few who have jets. Can this task force be able to stop such wealthy, influential people? Is the government being realistic?
Well, it is natural, it is constitutional, it is moral, it is ethical that regulations, moderations, managing, controlling, and coordinating excesses on the side of humanity. It is, after God, it is the government of the day. And that's why there are constitutions. The people that we're talking about today, maybe some of them made their money through legitimate means. Quite a number of them made their money through illegitimate means. And so acquiring private jets, for me, is not even the priority in the first place, Because if you watch most of the developed society, the richest men in that climb, in U.S., for instance, I remember once upon a time, the richest guy in the world, the owner of WhatsApp and Facebook, this young guy. Mark
Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg. When he came to Nigeria during Buhari, he guy looked too simple in a t-shirt. That Buhari was asking me, is it, Mark Zuckerberg? And like Riley said that it's not the size of the dog but the fight in the dog. It is only here that, because you are a millionaire, you want to live large, you want people to measure you by the size of car you ride, people to measure you by the kind of houses you live in, and so many big boys, rich men, who are actually rich, don't make noise. In my place, they say it's only an empty barrel that makes the loudest noise. If you are rich, you are blessed one way or the other, the best way to show it is to give back to humanity, supporting, promoting, and cater and care for the needy, the poor, the downtrodden, the forsaken, and the forgotten in society. But the reverse is what we are seeing, even from those who govern us. For instance, a governor in a state now will be traveling maybe from his office, going to the airport or within the state. He will be going with about 10, SUV convoy. You get what I'm saying? He will be in one. Why going without that kind of, excesses, wastages, when people cannot feed and so many other things and all that? So the point I'm making in essence is it right for them in a country that we are in? It's private, it's personal anyway, but then morally speaking, all right, and divinely speaking right now, in a nation that is struggling, that is uncommonly blessed, because of all the countries of the world without prejudice, Nigeria is the most blessed and the most endowed country, humanly and naturally. We are surrounded by water all over the places, but had little or none to drink. We have seen many leaders, but few leadership. We have seen those who parade themselves as leaders, but in real content, in conduct, and in character, they are nothing but looters and so many other things. So there are a lot of excesses in our system. So for me, that kind of task force that is put up, if you watch the minister, Festus Keyamo, he said it from the word go, that look, it will not be business as usual. And I could see that he's trying to restore dignity, decency, decorum, and discipline to our airport, because our airports are the gateway. That's where we have a lot of people coming in and flying out of this country, around the clock and so many other things.
Can we be convinced he really means to change the narrative in the event?
Why not?
Especially when we have the Hadi Sirika gate. If he is prosecuted to the latter, we see him either convicted or freed. At that point, can we now say yes?
The fact that somebody was here yesterday and couldn't deliver. Somebody was there yesterday and deceived the people because the Hadi Sirika you're talking about, towards the tweet light of the administration. That was when they said they are bringing back the Nigerian Air or something of that nature. They went outside this country to a smaller country to go and hire, and then they branded an aircraft and they brought here and they said, but you see, it's often said that if lie, travel several thousands of kilometers, truth will catch up with it within a blink of an eye. Here we are, every empire has an expiry date. Is Hadi Sirika still there today? And this is one thing our leaders should know, because when you are given the position of authority and then the leadership, it should be seen as a sacred trust. You are not the best among the people, because more often than not, God does not call the qualified, but qualify those he has called. You get what I'm saying? So sometimes, if you are privileged to be there, you should sit down to ask yourself, why me? What am I expected to do? How long am I going to stay? If I leave tomorrow, what happened? Let me give you another instance. Just a little while ago, from the records, particularly in the last 8 years or thereabout, the youngest among the governors at 36 is the Kogi State Governor, Yaya Bello. By dint of providence, sheer providence, he became the governor. He was not duly elected. Are you with me? But the guy that was duly elected, that actually won that election, died. Why the election is being counted and so many other things. He's been preordained somehow. And here you are, you struggle, you contested at that primary. But somehow, Providence put that opportunity on your laps and you became the governor. Kogi State is one of the smallest states in Nigeria. Kogi State is one of the most endowed and the most blessed, humanly and naturally in Nigeria. But check out, within that 8 years, Lokoja is the state capital, is the dirtiest today. I passed through that place several times. I'm not happy. The point I'm making in essence is, he was there for 8 years. If he has done well as the youngest governor, today, Nigeria, Africa, and the world will be celebrating Yaya Bello. Today is running. I was hearing, watching on the television yesterday, he said they should bring the case now, transfer to Lokoja. Can you imagine that?
All right, well said there. Let's move on to the next talking point. Let's move on and tell you that the former head of state, Abdulsalami Abubakar, says sustaining democracy in the country requires a constant nurturing and vigilance. Abdulsalami, who Adamu Jeddah a general represented said these on Thursday in Abuja, the second edition of this Nigerian Newspaper Gold Prize Award. Let's look at Rebuild Nigeria 360 project, which is aimed at just what the former head of state is talking about, saying Nigeria's democracy can only be sustained with constant nurturing and vigilance. Is that all that is needed? Because he technically is one of the past leaders who have also got the opportunity to change the narrative or change the fortune of Nigeria. Would you say he did well?
Well, you could say, because I'm a student of history, Absalami never prepare, he never dream, he never expect to become the head of state. But by virtue of the sudden death of the then head of state, Major General Abacha, Sani Abacha. And so that opportunity came to him. If we check the hierarchy of the army at that time, he was not the most senior person. Like I said earlier on. Are you with me? So more often than not, the qualifier are not called, but God qualified those he has called. But that opportunity came all of a sudden within 24 hours after the death of Abacha. And then he became, even when you have senior generals in the army and so many other things. And then without prejudice, people didn't believe when he promised, because he saw that as an opportunity of a lifetime. Unlike what we used to witness that, oh, when a soldier comes here, oh, you want to say, oh, give me 2 years, give me 3 years, give me 7 years or something of that nature. Oh, we are restructuring, we are trying to position, we want to change constitution and all that. He saw that as the finest hour. It was a moment that he seized and he maximized it. Quickly, he was able to say, oh, based on, the legislation of the June 12th, the fairest and the best election that was annulled, all right? And so he saw the opportunity that the best is to douse the tension that was building up in the country.
Sure.
And the best way to bring the country together and assuage strained nerves, particularly from the Southwest, that, appeared to be robbed of that election and denied. So he quickly had to, put, democracy structure in place. And I give it that to him. Within a record time, he was able to do his best and conducted that election and then handed over. It is on record. So we must say thumb up for him for that. So if today is saying that, oh, democracy must be nurtured keenly, consciously, painstakingly, I think he's talking from a point of...
He also did say electoral integrity, human rights, economic development, and social justice remain very critical. When we talk about social justice, it's one of the key things that I think has bedeviled the country in terms of social justice not being in the family home, in workplaces, in organizations, in government. How key is social justice and electoral integrity?
Well, I must say this, that like I said earlier on, it is Chinua Achebe that says that the hunters of our time have learned to shoot without missing. Contemporary men must learn to fly without perching. There are no system anywhere in the world that is perfect, that is watertight. It's always evolving. It's always moving from one stage to the other. All right? Without prejudice, we've just seen 24. We are on the 25th year now of our democratic journey and democratic leadership. Like I always say, we might not be where we think we ought to be, but we are no more where we used to be.
Sure.
So much has gone into our democracy, we are far from where we should be, but in reality, the question is, when you look at it without prejudice, they are clear, remarkable achievement today that we can point to, that connotes and tell the world that, oh, there might be corruption in the system, one. There might be leadership rascality. There might be inadequacies of deliveries, of deliverables from those who are expected to do all of those things and all that. But what I always say is every empire has an expiry date. If you were there for 8 years, you didn't do well, somebody will take over from you. You get what I'm saying? So the social justice, equity, whatever, that we're talking about, we've not had, much of it. And that's why you see today that a lot of Nigerian citizens are struggling to survive and so many other things. All we've seen is just few fellas that are privileged to have the mandate of people acquiring, and then talking and thinking and doing, for selfish and parochial motives 247. And that's what probably give birth to our project today, which is a pet project of Peace, Unity, Restoration, Prosperity Global Foundation. And the project code name is called Rebuild Nigeria 360 Degree. We've been researching for the past 10 years. We've been operating below the radar. We've gone across nearly 3/4 of the 36 states in this country. Surprisingly, excitedly, and amazingly, we found out that there is no part of Nigeria that is not uncommonly blessed in human and natural endowment. It is about leadership, because everything rises and falls on leadership. And so why others, even professors who became professors and global brand in this country, this same country, we are coming from somewhere. There was a country. You get what I'm saying? We were not born with the level we are today. We find ourselves in that level. And so it's a phase in our life that we are poised, as a social change advocacy, to lead in this country to change. You get what I'm saying? It's a phase in our life that we will phase out with what we have put together. Is a 30-year rolling plan to rebuild and rebirth a brand new Nigerian nation. In fact, we got on our side, that name will change much, much later. It's going to be NNN. New Nigerian nation, because the strength of our, of our togetherness is in our diversity. From our research, we found out that we have almost 275 plus tribes and tongues in this country. Guess what? None of those tribes and tongues that is not uniquely unique in terms of ethic, in terms of cultural, in terms of belief system, in terms of core values of integrity, credibility, sincerity, accountability, probity, hard work. And that's why any of Nigerians gets out of this country, they do well. So the point I'm making in essence is, some fellas have lost hope. They are selling land, they are selling property, they jackpot now, which is a syndrome. They are going to Canada, they are going to UK, they are going to US. But the answer for me is that wherever anybody is jackpot without prejudice, they were built by men, not by angels. So if it can be done anywhere, you can call the stroll economy today from America to China. We can do it better. And that is what Rebuild Nigeria 360-degree personifies. We are poised to make a change, radical change, that will sustain and that will make Nigeria the future of the world.
All right, we're looking forward to that great patriotism. Let's move on to the next talking point. We're looking at the presidential jet. That's the talking point. Federal government to buy for closed aircraft from German bank is the big story we're going to look at. As a reporter tells us that barring any change in plans, the Nigerian government will purchase the Airbus A330 aircrafts seized from an unnamed Arab prince and businessman who could not pay hundreds of millions of dollars he owed a German bank. Presidency officials have kept their lips shut about this plan to buy a new presidential jet. However, this story was obtained that the government has already identified an aircraft for purchase but is scrambling for funds to consummate the transaction. The identified aircraft is said to be repossessed, recovered from one troubled oil sheikh who used the aeroplane as collateral for a loan he obtained from an unidentified German bank to buy it. This is what the Nigerian presidency is angling, pushing, and have succeeded for the lawmakers to come out from their recess for this emergency break. And we were told that 6.6 trillion naira supplementary budget was passed for the sake of purchasing this aircraft. Are you comfortable with the fact that this is a foreclosed aircraft, an aircraft that was used as collateral by a sheikh? That's what Nigeria, we're not going for a brand new aircraft.
Well, I must say this, that first, without prejudice, I don't have the full details of the total number of presidential fleet we have.
Yes.
I know that just the past administration did a lot of reconditioning, overhauling of some of those fleets. And I know that the federal government of Nigeria cannot have less than 3 or 4. Sure. Right? And a jet of that status or magnitude is wired, is configured, is designed to last for a very long time.
Sure.
For as long as it's been serviced, as at when due. Going for turnaround maintenance and so many checks and all that, so they can be using it. I'm taken aback a little bit because if you look at where we are today, the challenge in our nation is that more than 80–90% of an average Nigerian can hardly feed. Imagine a bag of rice going for about 75,000 right now. Imagine a mudu of gari that we used to sell for 200, 250 is going for 1,600. I bought it in Abuja here. I went to a market somewhere and I said, I want to buy Jabu Gari, the woman said, the mudu is 2,800.
Wow.
The other one in the middle that has, can manage for maybe a Gari, Eba, or whatever, that one is going for 1,008 or something. The usual one was going for about 1,002. Gari, for instance, we are not importing cassava. It's been done in this country. And so, for me, without prejudice to that decision of the presidency, I want to feel that that's a misplaced priority for now. I believe that what we have on ground is still strong enough. If there need for it probably to be sent for a routine check to ensure that it's airworthy for our president. Of course, his safety should be guaranteed. We won't expect him because in recent time, was it Malawi that the vice president, aircraft got missed and then himself and about so many other people died. You understand what I'm saying? Similar thing happened to the president of Iran, about a month or something ago and all that. You understand what I'm saying? So with that kind of, situation, the need to place priority and preference on the fleet of the president cannot be overemphasized. But considering the amount that is involved and considering the alarming cry, the hue and cry across the country and all that, for me, that is not priority. And
for a jet that is foreclosed, a jet that is kept as collateral,
yes,
means there's no guarantee everything is working.
Yes, if you look at, they said it belongs to a sheikh of an oil magnate. You get what I'm saying? So it must be a special jet that is customized because at that level they have the resources. You get what I'm saying? But what they don't know is that nothing in life is permanent. He was doing that when he was maybe having free funds, excess and so many other things. It came to a point that he used that as a collateral to secure a loan, and he could not service that loan. And that's why, the jet now is being confiscated and so many other things. So I believe it will be in top shape, without prejudice and so many other things. But the question I'm making in essence is, why should it be Nigeria that is buying it? In a country at such a time as this, when all governors should be on the street, when senators should be back in their various constituents, when House of Rep members should be back to, be thinking about care. The basic things of life is food, all right? Beyond that is the capacity, because the primary responsibility of any government anywhere is to secure life and secure property. You get what I'm saying? But securing life doesn't mean, they should not carry guns. Securing life is because an angry man, a hungry man is an angry man. People who cannot feed. If you go right now, there are people on the street who are begging, they can't afford meals, so many other things and all that. But so I believe that the government should do more. I know that they are doing quite, some steps have been taken, but it's not getting down to the root. It's not getting down to the downtrodden. It's not getting down to the forsaken and the forgotten society. The government should roll out more. In fact, they should declare state of emergency on food security to ensure that on no account, on no condition, among the 774 local government, no citizen of Nigeria should go to bed hungry. These are things that all ministers, once it's weekend, go back to your various states. Go and sit down with your governors. Let all the senators and the House of Rep member go and join the State House of Assembly member and then the chairman of local government, and let's begin to look at how we can make food available for our people. While we are doing that, as an emergency, then we are encouraging our youth. Part of the major thing that we are doing under the Rebuild Nigeria 360-degree, we have a clearly defined 10-point agenda. The number one agenda is food security, accessibility, and affordability for Nigeria. We signed an MOU with National Orientation Agency in October 5th last year, and immediately after that, we saw it coming. October last year, we saw it coming. At that time, a bag of rice was going for about 42,000. We were to do a national conference where we bring the farmers, particularly for grains, together, and bring the sellers together to clinically dimension to look at how we can arrest this looming danger where we are today. But unfortunately, 2 weeks after we signed that MOU, there was a change at that agency. Up to now, we've not been able to move, we've not been able to do much or something of that nature, but we are moving ahead. You get what I'm saying? So what I'm saying in essence is food security should be of top priority at all stratas, at all levels of government, from the presidency down to the local government. I want to seize the opportunity to appeal to our president. Baba, you came in there by God's divine arrangement for the sake of the needy, the poor, the downtrodden. I equally want to seize the opportunity to appeal to the mother of the nation, and that's the first lady. Because Yoruba will say, Abiyama okingbe komo ekoma tatiwere. The yearning, the cry on the street, it is genuine. People are not pretending. Somebody wake up, he cannot even guarantee a meal for himself, for the wife, and the children. You get what I'm saying? So, By God configuration, by wiring, Nigerians are people that are very, very elastic. We can stop, we can take, we can, keep on leaking and keep on ticking. What we are facing here, many African countries will not face it without crisis or so many other things and other. But because of our nature, we can bear, we can endure. But that endurance or spirit of, resilience should not be taken for granted. So I'm saying that the president is doing his best. He cannot be in all the places at all times. And that's the beauty of democracy. It's not military. We have people that are representing each constituency. We have how many 109 senators and about 308 or 309 House of Rep members. Every weekend, the president should now make it mandatory for ministers to go back to their states. For House of Senator to go back to their various constituencies, and House of Rep members should go back to their various constituencies to ensure that food is available to our people. Because it's getting to a point now that it's becoming unbearable. I'm appealing to the president, I'm appealing to the wife, and I'm appealing to all our strategic leaders at whatever level. The governor should do more. They should not be sleeping and be snoring right now because they are comfortable. And then we want to begin to see a change. And I mean the new change. The era of the governor having 10, 15 different SUV, each of them costing 120 million, 150 million, it should be reduced.
All right, let's move on. Still talking, now we're moving into the food insecurity matter, where the United Nations has allocated $11 million to Nigeria towards addressing the worsening food crisis in Nigeria Northeast. The United Nations has announced the allocation of $11 million to the country. The UN Under Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs, Martin Griffiths, who disclosed this on Wednesday on X, says the microblogging site that the allocation was drawn from the United Nations Central Emergency Response Funds. Griffiths said acute malnutrition in the country is heightening at a rapid pace, even as he noted that food insecurity is at its worst state in 7 years, just like what you're talking about. Yeah. But is the problem not the fact that even when Nigeria gets funds, for instance, like the UN $11 million, we do not know where this monies are channeled to? When it gets to the federal government, how do they disburse it? How do they domesticate it to the state? And from the state, how do they domesticate it to the local government? Government that does not exist. It
is mind-boggling. It is mind-blowing. It is appalling. It is irritating. It's offensive. That in a nation like Nigeria, from the COVID days, we know that we got a lot of support in cash, materially, morally. We know that under COVID, the likes of Dangote and the rest of them gathered to raise some funds and palliative for people. These were distributed across 36 states and all the local government. It was during the NSAS, when there were crises across the country, that we later found out that some of these food items were being kept in warehouses by governors. How dare you? As a governor? So what are you keeping those things for? It's only here.
During for elections too.
For election, and then they take it through the back door and then go and repackage it now and then begin to distribute, for their own thing and say they are doing empowerment and so many other things. That is irate nonsense. The point I'm making is, and that's why I'm appealing. The $11 million that they said they are getting now, we will just hear it on the paper. At the end of the day, from that level, you will just discover. Then this permit me, give me the opportunity to say that a lot and very many of our civil servants have become evil servants.
Evil servants.
Evil servants. This is the truth. Because there is no way you can talk about corruption on the side of politicians without a civil servant. If you check in ministry department agencies, the key signatory to the government account are top permanent secretaries and directors. Most times, if not all, I was privileged. I was one time a chairman of a board in Ondo State, for scholarship board. I was in a signatory. As a politician, by constitution, by law, and by ethics, you are not supposed to be signatory. They will only prepare a voucher and say, okay, this is what we want to do. It is the permanent secretary or the director, the DFA, that will sign the check. So our civil servants should, as a matter of fairness, as a matter of equity and the fear of God and love for humanity, change their ways. And that's part of the thing we are set to do. We must begin to now turn 360 degrees back to what is noble and credible. Because We're just hearing billions on billions. At the end of the day, this money will not get to the poor people that is meant for. At the end of the day, where does it go? It is same some of them who will now load they submit names. They will load fictitious name. You say, was it not recently we have a accountant general of our country, European embassy, about 89 billion. One person, one director, or one permanent secretary will have about 100 houses. ICPC sees about 109 houses from one director. Or
Very sad commentary.
Sad commentary.
Let's wrap up the program with the last talking point. Let's go to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. That's where our talking point hails from. On the desk, let's tell you that the chairperson of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ola Olukayode, has ordered the arrest of 2 officers over the act of alleged misconduct during an operation at a hotel in Lagos on Thursday. The 2 EFCC officers were seen a viral video clip assaulting a woman during an operation at the regional hotel in Ojo, Lagos. In the statement, the Commission's head, Media and Publicity, Dele Oyewole, said they've been ordered to arrest the 2 in the video clip on social media. Let's look at the issue of abuse of power, excesses of security agencies. But this is the first time we're seeing the EFCC, play to the gallery this much. Are you worried?
Well, I am.
It's not just the police that is involved in brutality.
I am a bit worried. At the same time, I'm not worried. Because at the inception, one of the finest we've ever had is Nuhu Ribadu, who was the pioneer chairman of EFCC. Without prejudice to successive chairmen, ever since Nuhu Ribadu left, it's as if he left with the soul and spirit of that agency. By the law establishing EFCC, the operation is a tripod. It is preventive, it is investigative, and prosecution. And if you look at these 3 legs, it is only the investigation and then the prosecution that we've been having so much. The other arm, which is the preventive mechanism, because if you keep chasing people, who are looters all over the places, the younger generation are coming. They are highly wired, they are digital in their thinking, they are innovative. You get what I'm saying? So we must be doing much. However, without prejudice to those who have come before this present administration, Farida did her very best too, but her best, yeah, she did. She did her very best, but she couldn't sustain this team that Nuhu Ribadu left behind. For the first time too, we are having a young man who is the current chairman. He's been talking tough.
But what of Bawa Rashid? He was also there.
Bawa came,
everybody thought Bawa Rashid was going to be the Nuhu Ribadu.
The shoe was too big for Bawa Rashid.
Was it too big?
He was no. The shoe was too big for him, because you see, take it or leave it. EFCC is a robust, it's a deep agency. It's not just one of those ministry department agencies we are talking about. You must have the weight. You must have the weight of experience. You must have the capacity. You must have the competence. You must have the courage. You must have the compassion. Are you with me? And above all, you must have the character. The 7 C's that guide a leader for such. So such office is not just meant for anybody in the name of politics, in the name of sentiments or something like that. As usual. He was privileged to be the chief of staff. He has been in the system. He understands the inadequacies. And I believe that he prayed for such a time as this. He got it. If you look at his body language and so many other things, there are a lot of, bad eggs.
Is he succeeding with Yaya Bello's case so far?
Well, that Yaya Bello
got quiet suddenly.
That Yaya Bello case is another case. I mentioned it earlier on. But you see, he's trying to do his best using the due process. For instance, when Yaya Bello, having been summoned over and over, that he refused to summon, and they got a court, permit to go and arrest him in Kogi, you saw what happened. Right in his house, if not because of, he led that team there, if not because of the robustness of his leadership and pragmatism and charisma, all right, it would have been a lot of shootout that maybe several police would have been brought down there. But he was able to be on top of the game, and I give it to him. on that basis. So it's a clear departure from what we've seen previous years in EFCC. You get what I'm saying? There are some bad elements within the system that it is, consciously, painstakingly, and then softly trying to identify to fish them out. And this is one of those things. Because the job of EFCC is not to harass. You get what I'm saying? So even in developed society, maybe CIA or FBI, or even in the UK, the Metropolitan police, they come to arrest you. If they come to your house, you are eating. Sir, we are so official. You're under arrest. We want to see you in the office. Please, if you say, oh, allow me to finish my food, they will allow you. They will be saying, sir, until you get there. There's no harassment. So that's supposed to be part of the core training. How to manage, particularly because an accused is not yet an accused until he's proven, guilty. So you still have to give him benefit. He's still a citizen. Even though you have overwhelming evidence, I know that they must have done their due diligence in terms of investigation, having some fact. But at the point of arrest, they need to adopt what we call tact, diplomacy, and wisdom. We are working. The Rebuild Nigeria 360 degree, one of the agencies that we are penciled down to work with is EFCC. Particularly from those three dimensions that I spoke with, from the preventive mechanism. There are a lot of our youth who are doing Yahoo. Just about 2 or 3 weeks ago, about 127 boys, were arrested in Akure, my state capital, at a nightclub overnight. I think about 3 or 4 months ago, too, some students of one of the federal university of, in Southwest, too, there have been, a lot of arrests down. But the point we are making in essence is, they say the Anaduma is always the devil's workshop. We want to collaborate with EFCC and other strategic agencies. In fact, EFCC in particular, we have submitted a proposal. We want to work with them as far as this is concerned, so that jointly and severally they could do their job with tact, diplomacy, and above all, wisdom. That's just it.
All right. On that note, we're going to call it a wrap on today's edition of the program, The Desk. No doubt, very interesting. And we want to say a big thank you to Model Jeffrey Olu Abidoye for joining us. He is the global president of the Peace, Unity, Restoration and Prosperity Foundation. And they've got this project, Rebuild Nigeria 360, a 30-year project to see how they can turn around the fortunes of Nigeria, get Nigeria out of the woods, get Nigerians out of the wood, so that Nigeria can be the great country we are destined to be. I want to say it's a pleasure and very grateful to have you.
I thank you for being here today, and let me announce to those who care to listen, we might not be where we think we ought to be. I see a broad, glorious, brilliant, beautiful and bold future for Nigeria. We are not just going to be the womb of Africa by the virtue of the Rebuild Nigeria 360 degree project. We are turning 360 degree bar. We are turning the good, the bad and the uglies around to ensure that Nigeria becomes the future of the world. We are not seeing problems, we are seeing challenges. We are poised to raise an army that will lead a social change advocacy, that will lead to rebirth a brand new Nigerian nation that we can all be proud of. This is our vision, this is our mission, and this is our mandate. Thank you so much.
All right, so that's how we call it a wrap on today's edition of the program, The Desk. My name is Anthony Momodi, saying thank you for always being part of the most compelling talk show on TV. Good evening.